Welcome to our project of a lifetime. This is 22 hectares of land that was clear-felled and destroyed in 2024. Our dream is to help regenerate this all into a native forest. This is my new little project. Together with my partner, we've bought 22 hectares of bare land and we're going to regenerate it all into native forest and a cheeky little food forest on the side. Time for another walk and talk video. So the plan is just to share some things that are top of mind, some of the projects that we've been working on, those kinds of things. The major first topic to share is the fact that we've had quite a bit of rain over the summer period so far. This has meant that we haven't been to the land as much as we'd hoped or planned. There's just so much rain, and sitting in a container, a damp container, while it's raining, you can do that for a little while, but not for days on end. It just means that sadly we haven't been able to be on the land as much as we'd like, but that's just the reality of being outdoors, working with the land and learning and adapting. The main project that we've been working on so far is basically the biodiversity plots. We've set up 6 in total all over the land, and they do take quite a bit of time actually. Basically one of them takes a whole day to set up, and it has to do with the fact that it's very steep, sometimes very inaccessible terrain. If you kind of realize that one biodiversity plots takes 1 day to set up, that's 6 weeks in total over 6 biodiversity plots. Well, then you add in a bit of life and clashing agendas and those kinds of things. Basically, it took us a couple of months to get all of them into the ground. And I'm actually on my way to 2 of the 6 biodiversity plots, because I'm going to go over there and take a bit of drone footage, some aerial footage from the top and from the specific points. So in addition to collecting data, what species of trees, what bird species are around on the land, a nice visual follow-up over time with the drone of each of the biodiversity plots is also in the making. So then the plan going forward, at least where do we stand now with regards to some ideas and opinions of what we want to do. A lot of people have actually mentioned Hinewai Reserve and Dr. Hugh Wilson down on Banks Peninsula, the OG, the real pioneer with regards to regenerating land, and his method is often referred to as minimal interference management, which basically means leaving the pioneer species to do their work and then the natives to come under and take over time. I think it is a pathway that we are exploring as much as possible. Although I've got 2 plants on the radar at the moment that could provide serious interference with the minimal interference management, with the lazy regeneration, I guess. The first one being a radiata pine. There's lots of regeneration and seedlings coming up throughout the property. I think it's relatively doable in the first few years to be on top of that, and they really enjoy bare land and full sunlight. So once the canopy closes a bit, that pressure will come off. Then the second one, and I've talked about this one extensively in another video, but that's Oldman's Beard, a climbing vine that can really smother whole areas of native forest. So that one is also on the radar with regards to maybe a bit more active management. Then we've got the mob of goats that are roaming around on the land, maybe some deer as well. We've got some possums, so there's a bit of animal pressure on the regeneration happening. Quite a complex picture depending on what species you go with, because for example the goat pressure is definitely taking place on the natives, on the regenerating natives, but they're also smashing the broom and the gorse quite hard. There's areas where the broom and the gorse are being eaten down and they don't really get a chance to establish themselves because the goats just stay on top of them. And I think those 3 are the main concerns at the moment. So we've got the pines, we've got the Oldman's Beard, and we've got the ungulate pressure, which is mostly goats at this stage. Talking about the mob of goats, I turn around the corner and here they all are, hopping around, taking off, because they are quite tame, but not that tame that I can go up and pet them. And then the last thing I'd like to highlight, and this is a bit of a surprise and a teaser at the same time. You might have thought that the land was completely bare. Well, there's quite a bit of native bush still left in some areas. For example, this one. Down below we've got another seed island or a native island. We've also even got quite a bit of pines left. There's a whole strip that goes along the top and then comes down this side. And then on the other side of that, there's also a bit more native forest with a few beautiful old beeches and quite a bit of natives. We'll do a proper tour of the whole property in the future, but this is just to give you an idea. It's not as bare as it seems, and all of the natives are going to help contribute to a seed load and pressure regenerating all this into natives. And these pines Well, that's another story that we have to look into and that we'll share at another moment. Here's an observation and a note to self. It seems as if the browsers don't really enjoy the moko or wineberry as much as some of the other species. In this area, there's quite a bit of the wineberry. It seems as if it's not being browsed at all compared to some of the broom. So the broom around here is being munched on, and the mahoi, the whitewood as well. So those tops are being nibbled on, but the moko around here, none of them seem to have any browse pressure. Either they've got enough to eat so they don't need to nibble on the moko, or they don't really enjoy it at all and just neglect it completely. And then probably the most important story that I want to share, or biggest update, on this whole slope, all that orange red glow is moko wineberry. Most of the green stuff is mahoi whitewood. A lot of spots, Mother Nature is showing extreme resilience and a lot of native cover is coming up. This probably has to do with the native bush that was here. You can see some of the big tawa trees that were felled or damaged during the harvest, but all this area basically is all regenerating straight back into natives. There's very little gorse, very little broom, very little pines coming up in those areas. This is a theme that is happening on a few spots on the land. There's a lot of native regeneration, which is very exciting and also takes away the pressure to, or the need to plant any natives, because they're just coming up everywhere. It really is dense in these areas. There's also a lot of ferns coming up, and then in the areas where the bush has been damaged quite severely, there's also onga, or New Zealand tree nettle, which is a very interesting plant. Believe me, you don't want to get too close of it. So that also offers a nice protection, kind of a band-aid over Mother Earth to protect it. I've also found karamu, Coprosma robusta, small-leaved coprosmas, putaweta or marble leaf. Did I mention there's so many ferns? It's unbelievable. I don't even know all of them. One of the beautiful things about this project, well, there's many beautiful things, but one thing that's coming to mind more often is the scale. The 22 hectares of this project are so large that it's always a nice, gentle reminder that we're in this for the long game, hopefully even beyond our own lifetimes. Regeneration and rewilding take long time frames, and we are always reminded that we're only here to serve and to be part of this regeneration and not to control it or to impose our wills on it. We do struggle with that sometimes as us being humans, but you know, that's part of the game.